please search for Robi Walters wherever you get your podcasts, and that is ROBIWALTERS. Thanks for listening.
What you chat about?
Chat mode. Chat mode. Chat mode.
What you chat about?
So my name is Mo Gilligan, aka I have to do the AKA thing now.
Go on, man. Bring that in.
AKA Mo the comedian. I'm a stand-up comedian. Now a TV presenter, which is weird because I never really got into this game to be a TV presenter. But once you do it, you're like, oh, yeah, I'm a TV presenter now. Do you know what I mean?
How did you get into being? How did you go from?
Do you know what it was, Rob? Yeah. When I was in school, I was a bit of a class clown, innit?
Right.
But that was just me, like, it was like, because I was dyslexic, right? So I had no interest in the work. So instead, I just wanted to talk and bust joke and stuff, innit? And sometimes the teachers would laugh. And then as I got a bit older, college people said, you should try stand-up. And I remember watching, I never forget, I was in maybe like year 9, maybe year 10.
How old is that? I always get confused.
That's most probably like 13, 14. Yeah. That's when you're, you know, that stage of being a teenager where you're like, I'm not like 11, 12. I'm kind of like teenager time. So I basically like what my sister's friend, she used to get these like pirate DVDs and stuff, innit?
Cool.
This is when pirate DVDs was the thing, innit? And I remember like my mum gave me like £20 like pocket money. So she's come round and she's like, oh, I've got all these DVDs, what ones do you want? So, you know, like, everyone's picking films. And then, you know, I was just like, oh, I like comedy, kind of what comedy. So like her brother was like, oh, there's this thing called Def Jams. You should check them out and stuff. So I was like, all right, cool. So I bought about 4 of them. And I remember that night, because the Def Jams had 3 comics. They had 3, 6, 9. They had 9 comics in one DVD. So they do it in 3 halves, part 1, part 2, part 3, and a host. So I remember watching it, putting it in, and it just blew my mind. I was just like, wow.
Is it all comedy?
All comedy.
Yeah,
so you've got like, you know, you had like people like Dave Chappelle on there and stuff, but like really X-rated comedy. I've never heard this before.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Now, you hear about it and stuff. You might always, but like you're hearing about things like the OJ trial and stuff like that. Yeah. And I remember watching it. I went into school the following morning and I was telling my whole class, oh, you know, I've got these DVDs called like Def Jam, you don't need to go and watch it. And I'm repeating the jokes. And I'm like, I had this joke and did. And everyone's laughing at me like I was the comedian.
Right.
And I was like, right, like I love to do what I've seen those guys do. And literally I used to watch them every single day, just sitting there laughing and watching it and stuff. And, you know, you got a lot of friends that say you should do comedy and stuff. But for me, I was like, well, it's different because them guys write material and as an audience, I just crack joke with friends. You know what I'm saying? So studied performing arts at school and then college and then uni. Then at uni, I kind of lost my love for a little bit.
Right.
And like the acting side, I was like, it's not really for me. Like, so I was signing on at the time and I was doing bits of comedy, but then I remember doing one show and I'm at the show and I didn't really like have a name as such. Do you know what I mean? Because I was like, my full name is Messiah.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of people often think my name's Mohammed. So like my full name's Messiah. So you know, like they was like, oh, make some noise now. Because people said, what should I introduce you as? Most people knew me as Mo. So I was like, maybe call me Mo. Doing one show and it's like, make some noise for Mo.
And then it kind of stops at the one syllable. Or...
It had no oomph.
Yeah.
But then I was like, I don't really want to like, you're young. So you're like, I don't want people to know my surname. You know, you're quite young like that. So I was like, I don't know. And I'm doing one show. And then there was like, make some noise for Mo, the comedian.
Right.
And it just happened from that. And then before I knew it, I started doing gigs and I was like, well, I kind of like that name. My name's Mo. I'm a comedian. You know, the other names weren't really ringing, like Mo the comic, Mo, you know, like Mo Messiah the comedian. They just weren't really flowing, you know what I mean? And that was the name that's become synonymous with my age group and my peers when I was doing, like, you know, you do all the, like, the uni shows and stuff. And I used to do this thing, Robbie, back in the day where, like, so people could remember me, I'd always match my trainers with my top.
Okay.
So if I wore like red Vans, I'd wear a red hoodie. and jeans.
I see. Yeah,
So
yeah.
that used to be like my little calling card.
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember me because he was like, what's his name? Oh, he was wearing like a green shirt and green crepes.
shoes.
Yeah. So that used to be like my little thing. And then got into this weird stage when I was like mid-20s, where I was just like, when you're young, there's nothing to talk about. All you can talk about is like going out, talking to girls, and a few other bits.
Is that when you were using other people's?
No. This was all my stuff.
This is all your stuff.
Only the Def Jam stuff is when I was just telling my friends at school, basically. But I was making my own jokes and stuff when I was properly on the scene, because I know that's like, you're not meant to do that. Because the thing is with me, I didn't know how. Well, I knew what you weren't meant to do. You never, you know what I mean. You never use jokes, materials. You know, you get some comedians might try and remix it a bit.
Okay.
But I was never into that because I was like, someone will know. I know.
And get called
automatically.
Out.
So the minute I know I'm copying, I'm getting a laugh. I'm like, why ain't really made that? Someone else's work. You know what I mean? So and then I remember meeting who is my manager now, Polly, and she was just like, why don't you just call yourself Mo Gilligan? That's your surname. Like, and then that just changed my whole, like, you know.
Did you feel you grew into it?
Because
teenagers, you avoided it, and now you've matured.
Yeah. Honestly, like I avoided it for a long time, and then I was like, let me be me, innit? Do you know what I mean? Like,
that's the.
And the reason why a lot of people often ask, they say, why don't you use your name, Messiah? It's like a nice name, it's very powerful and stuff. And I love my name, but in terms of like the industry and comedy, I don't like it when people pronounce it wrong and they get used to it.
Right.
So it just becomes a hassle of everywhere you go. My name is actually Messiah. No, my name is actually... Because then they're like... okay, Mustafa. I'm like, no, that's not what I said. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what I said, bro. Or like... I was always meeting people from Spain, Italy, and for some reason it was called me Mosia or Moshaya or whatever. So it became this thing. I was just like, if I call myself Mo, no one could ever get that wrong, is it? So that's just where it's stuck.
It's universal across different... I mean? When you go to other countries as well, it's like...
Yeah. It's just something where they can just, boom, you've heard that name now, Mo Gilligan. So, and then from there, pretty much I started changing my comedy instead of talking about... let me talk about a bit more about me, my upbringing, me being dyslexic, my mum. You know, I had all these things I didn't know about though. Do you know what I mean? Like my dad's a Rastafarian.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? My mum is born and brought up in Wales, but her background is Welsh, is Jamaican. You see what I'm saying? So I've got this.
A Welsh Jamaican?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Cool.
So you know what I mean? Like my granddad's from Jamaica. He's from St. Anne's. So like I had that background, and I never used to speak about that because I didn't want to be on stage being like, no, I don't talk about my mum though. I don't want people to laugh. But then I thought, well, there's a way you can do comedy where you can laugh with everyone else, but you're not making your mum the butt of the jokes. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Where we can all laugh. So, you know, when I started changing it, I started seeing it's like, oh shit, like I can, like I don't have to. It's not about being cool. Yeah. And that was my thing when I was young. I want to be cool. You know, I want to make everyone laugh, but I want to be cool.
Is that restricting? If you want to be a certain thing, does that restrict it?
Massively, because I think for me, it's like the environment I've grown up in. So, you know what I mean? I've grown up in like Camberwell, Peckham. So, you know what I mean? I've got like friends from all types of backgrounds. But then you're always sitting there, you're like, yeah, but I don't want these to laugh at me. You know, the man them, the ends and stuff. Right. You know what I'm saying? So you always have that in the back of your mind. But then I thought, hold on a sec, I'm on stage, not them. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Let me just explore who I am a bit more in stand-up comedy. You know, talk about it. Like even talking about me being dyslexic, I used to feel like I can't talk about that. People might judge me. Yeah. They might say, oh, you're dyslexic. You can't spell, you can't read, you can't write. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? There's
another, because I have dyslexia as well. So I was in a car down in Portsmouth. Yeah. I've been there once and I was driving back and my friend said, turn left. And then after a while I said, oh, is it left here, right here, left? He said, have you got dyslexia? I said, yeah. He said, your sense of direction is nuts. How did you know where to go? Yeah, same. And then, so now I just say dyslexic. You're just using a different part of your brain.
Yeah, no, that's it, bro.
But when you're young, it's not seen that way. It's seen as something's wrong. Yeah, because you can't spell. Yeah. Or you can't read very well.
Massively. Because it was weird.
Could you read when you were young?
Yeah, I think the weird thing was like, for me, it was always was always my concentration. My concentration was the biggest Achilles heel with my education.
You didn't have much concentration.
I couldn't concentrate. So when it came to, and then I get frustrated when, you know, like when you're trying to spell something or you're trying to add and stuff, I get so frustrated, don't care. You know what I'm saying? So when I was in school, you know, I'd be on a table with all the smart kids.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And like, I understand what's going on. But then the teacher would be like, you're distracting the smart kids. So you now need to go on the table with the kids who need help. So not in a rude way, but I'm on this table and I'm like one of the brightest of the bunch. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, yeah, miss, I don't think I should be here. but I knew I should have been there because technically I can't spell. So, but in my head, I'm like, hey, I ain't really on these guys' level, you know? You see what I'm saying? So it was mad, like, but it was mad because I remember, like, you know, like when you had assembly, you get held behind, you like, everyone can go, and I'm like, yo, like, what's going on? Like, I'm busy, man. Why you got me with these lot, man? Like, I know what I'm doing, you know what I mean? Like, but then my teacher would be like, oh, you don't know, because and I'm like, yeah, that's true, but my man can't spell it. Like, you know, you're like, you're looking at, he can't even spell it. That's 2 letters, miss. Come on, man. I'm over here. I can spell because, you know. Come on, man. You know what I mean? So it was hard because you know, when I was young, I had a lot of denial about being dyslexic. I denied it for a long time. I was like, I'm not dyslexic. Because I'd always be, you know, like when it was coming, like I'd sit with another group of kids and, you know, it was weird because I got on with all the other smart kids and I could intellect with them, we can talk and whatnot and stuff. But when it came time to the education side, I was always behind them. Right. So for me, I was just like, yeah, I'm behind them, but I don't really care, innit? Like,
but mentally, you weren't behind them.
Yeah, so that was the thing.
If you were to do an exam, maybe it'd show up. But you in your mind, just like, yeah, I'm with these guys.
So that was the thing. I denied it. Even secondary school, I denied it. So there's times where I could have got more help on things like my GCSEs and stuff. But I said, no, I'm not. I'm not dyslexic though, really. Like, yeah, I might not be able to say that word or spell it, but I can have a decent conversation. I know what I'm talking about and stuff. And, you know, I think that was the thing. I think that really, that massively, I wouldn't say it affected my education. But there was a massive part of me who, when I was at that age, teenager, I was like, nah, man, I'm not dyslexic kind of thing. And then it was until I got to my 20s where I was like, there's nothing wrong with it. Like,
no, there isn't.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
why do you think we're made to feel that we are wrong?
I think
when we're younger.
Yeah, because I think massively when you're a kid, they stop that kind of imagination phase. Right. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, when you meet kids now and you're like 2, 3 years old, oh my God, he's so bright. He's got it going. And like, there's that thing.
Get to school.
So like, so like that kid who's 2 or 3, he's like, we need to keep him on that path. He's bright, he can spell. He is, like, even when I meet 2-year-olds, I'm like, oh my God, look at this little kid who can talk so beautifully and stuff. Where the kid over here who thinks he's in an imaginary state and is playing, we're just like, he needs to go up a bit. He's still a kid. He's going to be in primary school now and he still thinks he's like that. And that's how I think where teachers kind of have this thing where different kids will learn differently. Do you know what I mean? So like, I've always learned, like, even like reading books, I could read them, I just didn't like them. I found them a lot more boring when I was a lot younger. So for me, I was always like more visually. So I used to love science. When I was writing about it, I hated it. But when I was trying the experiments, I was in tune. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think that's where education really fails because those kids that have already got it, they're always championing those kids. Oh yeah, he's got it. Let's keep helping him. Let's keep feeding him. Let's keep giving him those tools so we can go to Cambridge and Oxford and be elite. But this kid over here who is drawing and that's not really going to get you nowhere.
I found that I had a cousin in Jamaica and she was able to get all of her class to 100%. And the way that she did it was different sections of the class all learnt in different ways. So I think I'm similar to you. I'm a visual learner.
Yeah, massively visual.
And some people are audio, so some people need to hear it. Some people need to read it. Some people need to watch a video. Some people need to play with bricks and they'll understand maths. and we all learn in a different way.
Yeah, no,
but we can all get to the thing that we need to learn. But if you're if that's not in the class, you're not going to learn it.
And
it's a shame that we get left behind when some of the kids are really smart.
Because I think the thing is now, it's like you're seeing now there's a lot less kids going to like university, a lot more kids going into creative fields. You've got kids who can now become a YouTuber, and these kids are sitting down with a Mac, they're editing their videos, they're making, you know what I mean, they're going on Photoshop, and that's what some companies hire certain these people for who go to university.
At school.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think it's weird now, it's like we live in an age now where it's like no one, like that whole like premise of like, I'm smart, I went to Oxford, I've got it all, I've got the grades. It's like, but it's not cool though. You know what I mean? Not to say it's not cool to go to university or anything, but that kid showing off. And because I remember like that, like when you was a kid and they had merits and you'd be like, oh, look at him, he's got all gold merits and stuff. And I was sitting there and I was like, well, if I was smart, I'd mostly get a merit, but I'm good at drawing or good at doing this or maybe puzzles, but I don't get a merit for that. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think massively like in terms of education, it's...
sometimes that limits us as well though.
Yeah,
you come out,
massively.
If you've come out of that system.
Yeah.
Like if you hadn't cracked a few jokes when you were, and found that you had a skill in that, like where would we have been if we didn't believe in ourselves coming out of that system?
Yeah, of course.
Where did it leave us?
Because I think that's the hard thing. Is that the hardest thing is like telling kids not to like daydream as such.
That's an important part of creativity.
Because massively. Once that starts getting shut off, I think that then affects you in later life. Because like what helps me with comedy is when I'm telling those jokes, I'm imagining them. I can see them. I can visualize them. So when I'm trying to write the bits, I'm sitting there and writing it, or I have something for a joke, I'm like, I'm going to tell it like this. They're going to say that bit. And that's why so many of my material comes out when I'm performing it live on stage. I don't work well writing tons of material because that doesn't help me creatively.
Are you spontaneous in the moment? Do you have a structure and then you kind of feel your way through it? Or do you know it word for word?
Well, what it is, it's like, there's some bits I'll write them word for word. But once I write it, I feel like I have to keep checking it. So then what happens is, especially with stand-up, I've developed a skill of like, for example, when I need to try new material, I will have them in bullet points. And then it's about performing it live.
Right.
And then like, I put myself under so much pressure that I will end up finding the ingredients to get the punchline and finding the story and because I think with comedy, it's on the timing. Yeah. The timing is, the art is in the timing.
I forget that.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
right. The best comics are not, like, you can have the funniest joke, but if you can't tell it, it's not funny. You know what I mean? Like,
that's true, man.
So the amount of times it's like, you get people who tell, like Christmas crackers.
Yeah.
My mum tells Christmas cracker, like, why did they because it's like, nah.
Yeah.
It could, and that's just someone just reading it off a thing.
Right.
But what I actually do is quite funny. It's like when I get Christmas crackers, I always it'd be Christmas Day, so I'm like, so I read something, but it's not the joke.
Oh right.
So yeah, and you see people are really laughing, and I'm like, see, that's not actually the joke.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying? Because I always mess up because I always know it's in the timing, and everyone's like, what, is that really a joke? And I'm like, no, I'm just playing. It's on there. You know what I mean? Like, but I think is something in comedy where I remember watching a Dave Chappelle interview once, and he said the one thing you need to have as a comic, or the greatest comics have the best timing.
Right.
So it's not about how funny the joke is. You can have some. I've heard really funny jokes, or I've seen comics tell something really funny.
Yeah. And
you sit there and you're like, but if you said it like that,
yeah,
you added that in it. And that's just my comedy brain. But it's harder with comics to tell them, like when I've got my mates who are comics and say, why do you say it like that?
Right.
Because they're going to be like, because some comics can take criticism, constructive criticism, some can't.
Yeah.
Because we're all creatives. Even with me, I get people who tell me, yeah, you should do it like this, do it like that. And I'm like, well, no, because I've sat there created it.
Right.
You've only just seen a small snippet and stuff. So, but at the same time, it's like I got a review recently in The Guardian, and they said about one of my jokes, and I was like, yeah, but then that made me change it. So I sat there and was like, maybe if I tell it like that,
okay,
then that person can never say that again, or someone else won't have that same thought. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Do you when if I think of like some of my favorite comedians, you know, like Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
I think his face, like, he doesn't have to tell a joke.
Yeah, no,
he just pulls a face.
Bro, like,
I'm almost on the floor.
Yeah, your face.
He can almost tell an entire story.
Yeah.
And I've noticed, like, so how do you choose, like, clothes? Like, I've seen you've been wearing wigs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is that something that just came natural to you?
It would always happen where, like, because I think my sister had a wig. She got one from, like, Halloween one time.
Yeah.
And she was like, I'm going to chuck this out. So I put it on because I think she was moving out and so moving. I put it on. She started cracking up laughing. So then
and you hadn't even told the joke?
But I didn't say nothing.
You just had the wig on.
So I had the wig on, so I'm like,
bang.
So I was like, but why are you laughing though? Like, it's being mad serious. She was just crying with laughter, like, just like, I can't take it seriously like this. Yeah. And I'm like, no, my big man, take that stuff off. And it just became a thing. And then I was just like, I remember just having it and just like fucking around in the video. And then from that, and it was weird because from that, it wasn't like a thing of like, it just helps the character's ingredients.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's another level of engagement.
Yeah, because I'm not going to go to the lengths of putting a dress and put on makeup because I don't need that to be funny.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like sometimes it might be that one small prop.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like because the wig doesn't make me a woman. It just gives you the visual thing, but the facials.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? So it might be the way I look at something or whatnot. And same with like the roadman. Like I can do
even
the roadman.
Is it a cigarette or is it a
you might have a
roll up?
The geezer was always that's his prop.
Yeah.
As such.
Just
you know
the
what I mean?
little thing that makes such a difference.
Yeah, it's the little things of when I say like, I can just be like, when I'm the geezer, I'm like, kick up, can't you see? And it's just that kind of like, the mannerisms.
The movement.
Yeah.
That's the pace of the voice. That's the
pace of the voice, the way he puts it in his mouth. And like, because his whole premise, the geezer, which people don't realize, is that he's on his balcony having a cigarette.
Oh, I see.
That's just what it is.
Is it Julie? Or
so he's got his Julie, that's like his missus, his wife.
Yeah.
So the whole premise is that he's on his balcony. It's just he lives on the estate.
Yeah.
So he's up and down the back and have a little cigarette. Might be kids playing, and he's got his neighbour out there.
So that's when they interact.
Yeah. So he's got his neighbour Alan, who's the nosy neighbour who tell him to turn down the music. He's like, fucking shut up, you twat. And it's just that kind of like interaction where, do you know what I'm saying? So he's on a balcony, my man's doing his gardening. Can you turn it down, please? Oh, fuck off, fucking twat. And then you got his wife, leave him alone. He's like, I don't fucking care, it's fucking nosy shit. That's just something that everyone goes through. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to a lot of my comedy, like creativity, especially for the videos, a lot of it, a lot of people say, oh, like, are these real people? And they're just like, it's like, nah, but a lot of times I'll get an idea and then it's like, boom. I'll have to do the idea as quickly as I can. Yeah. Sometimes I always have ideas sitting there and they sit there, but they're just not ready yet. And always, it's a lot of the time when I'm like, okay, I'm going to make a video about this. I sit there, I get the camera ready, and I'm like, no, I'm not feeling it. Yeah. I'm not feeling it. Yeah. I'm not in the right mood. I feel like I'm forcing it. And even there's tons of video I've done before, and I'm like, this ain't good enough. Because I don't know what it is. I just have a feeling about certain videos. Yeah. I'll be honest, there are some in the past I've done, but that can also, I'm also my own critic. So a lot of times I've done videos, and I'm like, I don't know if that's good enough, man. And I've put it out, and they become like good videos or good hits, you know, and you sit there and you're like, fuck, shit, man. Like, and that's why it's always funny, because like when I had my previous phone that I used to do all the videos on, I lost it, and it had like loads of ideas for other videos and stuff. But it was weird because I'm kind of glad I lost it, because it gave me this like, cool, I need to do new ideas now. Yeah. Otherwise I'll keep going back. Let's try that one again. Right. I didn't know that. Let's try that again. Right. So now I'm in a place of like, yeah, I can try it. But then at the same time now with all like the TV stuff, it's like people like, for some people that changes their day. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So
when you're doing telly, say you're presenting. As you as a person and you as a comedian, which one is it when you're on telly?
The thing is I think I've found a balance of, especially when it comes to TV presenting, when we've done the Big Nasty show, I just had to be myself. Right. Do you know what I mean?
That's clear. Yeah. Instead of like, you're going to go into different roles. Yeah.
Because the characters is the characters, that's all, that's always going to be there. But like, if you get like some of the guests we had on, you can't just be sitting there talking about, you how's it going, love? Because they're just like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Bro? Do you know what I mean? Like, so
you got to.
I found, for myself, it was just like, be myself, and the comedy will just shine through out of that. Do you know what I mean? But then also, like, I also had a thing of just like there was a part of me where sometimes you get a guest and you're like, fuck, man, but that person in the show sick, like, and you know, they're sitting there and they might be very loud or vocal, but then I thought, hold on a sec, like, I'm meant to be here, innit? Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna say how I feel about this situation. Like when we had Tandy come on and she come out the doors and that, and I thought, I'm not gonna say that because Tandy needed it, but I thought, hold on, no, like she did come out kind of glamorous and that and whatnot. So I was like, yeah, like that is what that makes me me. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Because when I'm with my friends, that's how I am. But I think for the Big Nasty show, because I'm a co-host, it's, you know, as I help write the show as well. So there's a lot of parts of the show which I sit there and I've helped write and stuff for certain segments and whatnot. So I think there's also an element of like you watch it and sit back and it's like your creation. So you're like, I don't really want to get involved. I let that happen because I've created that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. As opposed to like, I need to let people know and
making it about you. Know what I mean?
Because even on the show, I don't really. I tell people, but I don't put it out on like, so guys, check it out because I wrote on it. Right. You know, if you check it out and you liked it, then you've seen I wrote on it. But it's not something I really put out there as such. Do you know what I mean? In terms of like, because I think and it's weird because a lot of those ideas I just have, but then I'm not realizing, I'm like, right, this is what a producer's meant to do. So I'm kind of producing and I'm writing. Do you know what I mean? So I think that was a massive part of me making my own production company. So when I done my comedy special, so that's the tour we've got now, when I filmed it, it was a massive part of me how I wanted it to look. The camera angles, all those small things, because I know I'm sitting there looking at it from someone else watching it, not from how I want to be seen. I'm like, okay, let me take myself out of this. And that's one thing I try and do a lot, is try and disassociate myself with myself. So like, I can sit there and watch one of my videos, like how a fan would watch it, if that makes sense, as opposed to, I need to change that. Why did I say it like that? And it's a hard thing to do because sometimes you watch yourself, and I find myself funny in it. Yeah. So I will sit there, write something, and I'm like, that's fucking funny. I've got to put that up. And I'll watch it back and laugh at me, and I'm like, that's me. I made that. You know, and I think that's what's always helped.
Do you separate yourself from yourself? I
have to, yeah. I have to, especially with my comedy, because my comedy is very personal to me. So when I'm sitting there laughing, I'm like, yeah, no, that's how I would have said it.
Oh, right.
Even though I'm saying it, I'm like, that's my voice. Yeah. And I've seen myself on other TV things, and I'm like, that's not you, Mo. Right. That's not you. Do you know what I mean? And every time I watch myself on them things, I'm always like, that's fucking shit. Because I know it's not me. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's when people have longevity, or people that really make it, even if they're nasty, even if there's something in their character that's not good, they're being authentic to themselves. There is something about that is who they are. Yeah. We all have all the different spectrums in all of us, but it's quick to put down people that are kind of a little bit judgmental. Well, hold on a minute, we're all judgmental.
Yeah, of course.
But I think you saying that being yourself, so important.
No, it's very important, man. I realised that with TV, it's like, I met, like, before I started, you can imagine I've done comedy a good number of years, and you see some people here and there and stuff like that, and some people are nice, some people are not so nice, some people got time, some people don't have time and stuff. And, I've never sat there and be like, when I get there, I'm going to be the nicest guy ever. Because I'm just like, it's not by force, innit? You be nice because you're nice. Yeah. It's not like when I get there, I'm going to be nice to everyone and shake everyone's hand.
If anything, it's going to highlight the good and bad.
Yeah, man. So I think for me, it's like, I remember like when I've done jobs and stuff like that, and like I've sat there and I'm like, oh, that's cool, that job was cool. And you sit there and you really analyze it when you're first starting out. I think now it's different because it's so frequent, there's always something going on. So on to the next one. My mind state is more always on to the next one. So yeah, like that project I done was cool, but got something else tomorrow. got to focus on that. So I remember back then, I used to always dwell on it, be like, I'm not too sure about that. And I spend so much energy in the past or on other people of like say, oh, why did this guy say that about me? Or why did da-da-da-da-da? Or you really analyze, and I spend so much energy on that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going into other stuff and I'm not giving it my all. Do you know what I mean?
You're not focused on yourself again.
Yeah, massively.
I remember someone once saying to me, Robbie, I can see it in your eyes. You're going to make it. You've changed. And I said, no. I've never changed. I can see it in other people's eyes looking at me. Now they can see I'm going to make it. It's not, it was reversed.
I know what you mean.
If you noticed that people treat you different?
Oh yeah, of course, man.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's part of evolution of someone's craft as well. It's not.
No, the thing is that's not a bad thing. You know, that's one how the industry is as such. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But like, you know, sometimes you go into a shop and they'll be like, hey, how's my card? Like, you need something? And stuff like that, which is not a bad place to be in. You know, there are advantages of that stuff now that I take advantage of. So I'm like, cool. If I'm into sneakers, innit? So I'm like, cool. I know I can get trains from here or whatnot and stuff like that. And you know, but at the same time, it's like I don't let that stuff. I don't get caught up in that stuff. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's very easy to be like, go from, you know, free gifts from this company and free, and then you think, you know, it's easy for certain people. You can imagine, you know, if you're a person and you've just got free clothes from everywhere, you know, you get restaurants being like, if you want to come out here to eat and stuff like that. And I get that, you know, when you're on the come up, feel free to take advantage of that with your friends and stuff like that. Like I've gone to some places and they've offered me a free meal. So I'm like, cool. You know, I use these things more for my friends than for myself. Yeah. So
that's amazing.
You know what I mean? So when I went, like, it was a really nice restaurant in West London. So, you know, the owner was like, oh, if you ever want to come. So I was like, we had the tour show last year. So I thought, what better way to, like, we've had a great tour. Let me take all the guys out for food. And yeah, the owner was like, oh, it's cool. It's on me. It's on the house. Don't worry. They're the things where you want to use those things for other people. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, there's always those small things. But I think, you know, for myself, that's never what drives me. Do you know what I mean? But if I get opportunities where I can, you know, like from one of my mates, for example, like sometimes I'll take him to an event and you go to these events and, oh, I'll give you like a goodie bag, a free hat, all that kind of stuff. And I'll be honest, like if I get this hat, I'm like, I'm not going to wear it most probably. The t-shirt, I might wear it if I go in bed. Let me get to someone that's actually going to wear this t-shirt, wear this hat. So I always give these things to my friends. Do you know what I mean? Or if it's like certain things, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, well, I'm not going to wear it. I don't really.
It means something.
I'm just taking it to take it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So more time, a lot of those things, I'm like, it's, you know, even like sometimes you do jobs and get you a car home. You know, if I'm going back with one of my mates and he's driving, I'm just be like, well, can my mum have the car instead? And I'll take her home because my mate's going to drop me home. You know, that's where you kind of use those things for other people as opposed to yourself. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because it's easy to get caught up in that rat race. And before you know it, you want everything for free. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like,
entitled.
Or you go into shops and be like, why are they giving me any discount? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, no, that's not what you got in this industry to do it for. Yeah. You got in there to be recognised for your art and what you do. So, yeah, like if anything, it's a bonus, but it's not what drives me. You know what I'm saying? You know?
And what's the future? Do you have like next year or the year after? Do you just stick to where you are right now and just
always stay in the
moment?
I always look to the future and imagine, but I try to stay now, hear what's happening. Because as I said, my weeks go from like, you know, I'm doing something. Like I know what I'm doing today, tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday. I've got off. Next week I'm on tour. Right. The following week I don't know what I'm doing. Right. Do you know what I mean? So you go from like doing a lot to not doing a lot. So in them times you're not doing nothing, you got to find something else to stimulate your creativity. Yeah. So I try and play football, DJ at home and stuff like that. Yeah, just those things.
Would you DJ out? Would you like to play out?
I would love to, but I don't think, like, for me, DJing is like a little hobby I do at my house. See what I'm saying? But going out and doing it live, and people are like, no, play that song. I'm like, big man, I'm not really here to play for you. This is something I enjoy personally, so you're gonna have to wait. You know what I mean?
What kind of music do you play?
Nah, I play a bit of everything. When I DJ, I like a lot of, especially like old school grime.
Yeah.
House is always quite easy to mix.
Yeah.
A bit of jungle sometimes. Always try and mix it up.
Right.
Yeah.
You sound like you'd be good at carnival.
No. Do you know what it is? When it comes to
float, man.
events, I'd actually be a good DJ.
Yeah.
I know what the crowd likes.
Yeah, man.
So there's a lot of times I go to things and I'm like, DJ's dead, man. But I'm not there to judge because I'm like, man, can't like I can DJ, but I remember once I was at a house party once, and the DJ went toilet and he's like, "Where's the DJ?" And I was like, "Hey, this is my time, you know."
Stepping up.
So I went to the laptop,
Mo the DJ.
played the tune. Everyone's vibing. I'm like, "Oh shit!" Played another song, and my friend comes over, he's like, "Hey, bro, okay," you know. And I'm like, he's like, "Can you DJ?" I was like, "Nah, I can't. Just trying the thing, innit?" And then I think I was playing something, and everyone was like, "Yo, DJ, what you doing, man?" And I was like, "I'm not a DJ though, so I don't know why you like giving me this pressure." You know what I mean? Like,
Sounds like another character. Is this a character? A
no,
DJ?
this is just me fucking around, man. But no, it's always become a hobby. I've always been interested in. I listen to a lot of music, so when it comes to like, I think for me, I always enjoy the art of mixing.
Yeah.
So it's the art of like getting one song beat matching another song. That's what kind of excites me when it comes to DJ. It's not really like, I wouldn't say, "Oh yeah," because I think, you know, the position I'm in, I could say, "Look, can I play at some clubs?" And you know, I've got friends that could kind of get me into those places, but I don't want to take pocket from someone else. You know what I mean? Some money from someone's pocket, because there's guys out there who are proper DJs.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be getting a spot because it's like, "Oh, well, Mo's on TV, that's why he's got a spot."
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I want to earn it like the rest of the other DJs. You know what I mean? So, yeah, maybe in the future, you know, maybe the Ibiza, Ushuaia might pay me a little change. You know what I mean?
Man.
Yeah, man.
I can imagine that.
Man. No, I would love to, man, because I know Idris Elba DJs as well.
Yeah. Virgil, he's DJing.
Yeah. There's a lot of guys that DJ, man. But I think for the future for myself, I just keep doing what I'm doing, and you know, I just.
Would you go into film, or would you go into like acting?
Yeah, most probably. Like, you know, whatever kind of opportunities arise. I think at the moment, just kind of keeping my ground on the floor with comedy as such. If there's a role that comes up and I'm like, it's good for me, I'll try it. I'll always, you know, audition or do a self-tape and stuff for it. But I never set out to be like, yeah, boom, this is the new career path. I'm not doing comedy as such. Do you know what I mean? Because comedy was like something I didn't even know I was good at until I started doing it. And then I was like, no, I'm good at this.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I did want to be an actor. That's what I wanted to do.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So when I went uni, I just fell out of love with it. And I was like, this isn't really for me. So that comedy came at a time and almost, like, I would say, rescued me, because I wasn't making any money. You know, when I was doing comedy, I was getting a little £50 here, you know what I mean? So yeah, that was the thing that kind of came at a time where I didn't have a lot going on. I became good at it. And then that's just, you know, people would always say years ago, oh, you should do a comedy, you should be a comedian. But I was just like, I don't know though, innit? Like, it's not, I don't know.
So you got a lot of encouragement.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I got a lot of encouragement, but I always respected the craft.
Yeah.
Not just to be like, yeah, cool, I'll do it. Because sometimes I do comedy. I've been doing it a number of years. I've seen those guys go on stage. Yeah. Everyone tells me I'm fucking funny. Here's a couple of jokes. One I did, man, you're like, this isn't it, though, is it? This ain't it. Do you know what I mean? Man. And I never wanted to be that guy. Yeah. I never wanted to be the guy who's like, everyone tells me I'm funny. You know,
and you get up there.
You get up there and it's real. Because when you're on that stage, you do stand up, it is real, bro.
Have you ever been nervous, or have you ever done something where
of course, man. Sometimes you get massively nervous. I've had gigs where I've been shaking on stage, and those things go in time. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You know, sometimes you do big gigs and you're still nervous. You know, sometimes it's weird because sometimes you do gigs, and now because we've done the tour, I'm so confident in it. There's not really much nerves, but there's more.
That's amazing.
There's more, and what happens when the nerves go away? The anxiety creeps, so you're more anxious.
Shit. Right.
So you're like, I hope that everyone's gonna like this. I've just got to make sure I'm saying this right, that right, and that's what starts to build up. Okay. Do you know what I mean?
Does that go as you start talking, as you're getting into the flow?
Do you know what? It's once you get your first couple of laughs.
Yeah.
You're like, cool.
Then you can relax.
It's when they're hard.
Yeah.
That's when you're sitting there and you're like, I've got to work.
Are your audiences black?
No, they're not actually.
They're mixed.
No, they're very mixed.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay.
very massively
That's
mixed.
good. I'm not that it's either way, but I can imagine a black audience.
Yeah,
if they want to be hard, I can imagine.
Bro, like, I've had my
that's a good way to cut your teeth.
Yeah.
If you want to learn your skill.
Like, and the thing is, I've had audiences. I remember I used to host a show years ago called The Sunday Show. That was like the hood would then come out. You know what I mean? So you got the girls dressing up, you got the roadman coming and stuff. You know what I mean? And the fact that that audience is laughing, that used to be like, if I can make them laugh, do you know what I mean? Then anyone can, you know what I mean? But sometimes you get older crowds. Remember doing one show years ago in like Lewisham, Catford, Sydenham somewhere. Proper like my sister's boyfriend at the time, he's done this like, you know, there's like dinner and dance shows, proper old school Jamaican type things. All right, now we have some comedy. Y'all like comedy? Make some noise for Messiah. And I'm like, what the fuck's this my fucking name, bro? Like, got up there, telling these jokes. Oh, bruv, that is the hardest crowd because it's like people's mums and stuff.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's like eating.
And they haven't come to see you.
They haven't come to see me. They don't care.
They don't know what you're doing.
And it's so weird. I've had my fair share of those shows though. Do you know what I mean?
That's probably good to go through all of that, isn't it?
Yeah, no. I think that's the thing with comedy. It's like to have every type of audience. Like I've done kids comedy shows.
Really?
Little kids, yeah, man. Little kids, like where was it? That was in where was that? That was in a festival, like near the Isle of Wight.
Okay.
And I remember
Festival.
Camp Festival. That was
Festival.
what I've done. Yeah, have you been there?
I've been to one. Yeah,
with the kids and that.
I loved it.
Oh, bro.
I loved it.
Yeah, man. Not me, boy.
What you chat about?
Chat mouth. Chat mouth. Chat mouth.
What you chat about?
Thank you for listening. This podcast was produced by Viral Tribe. For more information about our work, please visit tribe.fm with 2 eyes. Sign up and join the podcast revolution!